right, you guys, welcome to my live stream. I'm just going to go ahead and get it started here. This isn't a normal time that I do live stream, but I don't know, I'm just kind of doing varying times of day to do something that I want to talk about. Welcome to Not My Rabbit Hole with Terry Joyce. Right now I am using StreamYard, and I am streaming on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And I did something. Some here in the chat, I downloaded some sort of something that was offered on StreamYard, and then I'm trying to comment in my own thing, and it's coming up weird. So I'm pretty sure that if you are on my YouTube channel and you do make a comment in the chat, I can still post your question and answer it here on the screen. So but I just don't think for some reason I can't really make a response in the chat myself, which is unfortunate. Because I was wanting to share my GoFundMe in the chat here, but I guess I can't. And by the way, let me just transition to that. I do have a GoFundMe right now. It is to support my college education. I was off work for about a month being out of school. I do tutor biology, anthropology. And which kind of made me get behind. I don't really have enough to cover this month's rent and expenses. Next month is going to get better because I did get a scholarship, and I'll have grants and student loans. And then also I'll have a fuller paycheck next August because I'm working this whole entire month tutoring for the summer session. But I wanted to share it. And since I can't share it in the chat, it is in the description of this video. And I will, I also have posted it on Facebook, and I'll make sure that I put it in the comment section on Facebook and as well as on Twitter. I also want to thank, we've raised so far $285 towards my goal. My goal is $2,500, and I want to give a shout out to, and I hope I didn't say your name wrong, but Sayabon O'Malley, thank you so much for your $10 contribution. Thank you so much for, I really appreciate it. And then I have some anonymous donors here, and you know who you are. So I want to give you a special thank you for supporting me as well. And if you want to know what I've been doing, I have put in, if you get to hear, I put in a body of work that I've done in college, articles that I've written for the Rampage Online, as well as some videos, because I took a mobile media editing class, and I thought I would show, last time I did a show with Stephen Cambion, at the end of the show I presented this, and I shared one of my videos that I did on a protest in San Francisco. But today I'm going to show you the video that I did that went along with the article about the women life freedom movement. And so I'm going to start off with this.
So we're gathered here on Women's Day, and we're representing the Iranian women's movement, which is on record the largest freedom movement in the world. And we were just trying to shed light on all the atrocities committed by the dictatorship in Iran and the lack of freedom, just simple daily freedoms here that we take for granted. People are protesting and just civil disobedience in Iran, and they're met by military confrontation, and they're being killed on the streets. They are ranging from young kids to teenagers to adults. I mean, the regime doesn't discriminate. And if you oppose them, they don't give you any venue to peacefully state your disagreements. They jail you. There's thousands of people in jail, from musicians to activists to just regular citizens that disagreed with the regime. This particular movement, I mean, there's been many to date, and many have paid the price with their lives. This particular movement that has been the largest movement to date was triggered by the death of Mahsa Amini, which during an event she had misworn her hijab and partially showed her hair, and she was met by the authorities that enforce the hijab, which is the hair covering, and that resulted in her death. And she's certainly not alone. There's many, but she's become the symbol for the movement.
Can you imagine in America having this young woman? There's a couple pictures here with, you can see she's missing an eye. You know what they're doing? This isn't made up. This is a new tactic. They invent all these new tactics. They're using what they call less lethal force, rubber bullets, at peaceful protesters, and they aim for their eyes because they want to send a message. They are poisoning dozens and dozens of girls around the country to send a message of fear.
So that was because I took a mobile media editing class. My professor, I had another professor that knew that I was going to do this article for the Rampage, that I had an assignment, and she said, well, why don't you do a social media video package as part of your class assignment along with it. And so I did a couple different versions of it. This is one of the versions. And if you are interested in reading the article that I wrote about this, it's also included in this in the fundraiser. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. Okay, so that's, I heard this little ding, but I don't really know why that happened, but on there. All right, so I wanted to share that with you. Also, there's different ways that you can support my channel. And I'm going to go ahead and put a really quick banner before I do the fair use. But, if you'd like to donate, I take donations through PayPal, Venmo. This is my Cash App information going across the screen right there as well. Also, I am monetized on Facebook, so I can take super chats. And that will also help me out with doing my media and supporting me. And also on Facebook, if you're watching this on Facebook, I am a digital creator. And if you like to help me out with giving me some stars, Facebook stars, you can do that below my videos. You'll probably see a little invitation, give Terry Joyce Facebook stars. And for example, $1.99 is giving me 200 stars. So that's another way that you can support me. And so also I want to let you guys know that I have a website called notmyrabbithole.com. I have a blog site, as well as I have a different version of Not My Rabbit Hole on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Play as well. So just giving you like areas that you can find my content. I'm also on Rumble, and there are some, again, I have different material on different platforms, mainly because of the varying degrees of censorship that we have. And so I'm trying to respect YouTube with what YouTube's guidelines are. But, if you want to listen to what I really think about things, you can see me on Rumble. And one of the conversations that I'd like to develop a show about on Rumble, and if you're not following me on Rumble yet, check out Not My Rabbit Hole altogether. That's how you can find me on Rumble. I should have maybe at the end of the show, I'll add a link to my Rumble channel as well. I have 48 people following me on Rumble, but please do follow me there. I'm wanting to do a show about adrenochrome. That's why I don't want to do it on YouTube. And part of the preparation for that show is I'm taking a poll here on Facebook. So I'm not Facebook, on YouTube. So if you go to my community page on YouTube, I have a poll of whether I'm asking people if they believe that adrenochrome is real or not real. And I can actually pull up the... I'm going to pull up what the stats are right now on that. So give me just a second. Let me take a look. It's quicker for me to do it on my phone. Right now, 18 votes have come in. and 67% of the people who've taken this poll say yes, they do believe adrenochrome is real, and 33% of the people that have taken this poll on my YouTube community page say that no, they do not believe that it is real. And gosh, I really hope that I can get comments on this. I may have just completely messed up this live stream by allowing something else. Oh wait, here, I got 2 new messages here. Okay, I'm gonna put something in. I don't see. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Here, I'm gonna add this in there. I'm not sure this is working correctly. That sucks. I don't know if anybody who might be out there, I know there's a couple people watching this right now. So if you can make a comment, or if you are subscribed, oh, look, somebody just went away. Oh, well, I don't care. I don't really, here, I got a response. Hi there. How can I help you? Okay. You know what? Okay. We're going to talk about AI anyway, and this is the part that aggravates me about AI is you get stuck in this AI stupid chat that doesn't really answer your question, and then it doesn't really, it's not cognitive enough, I think, to really address any type of issues properly. Okay, so I'm going to get the show on the road here in terms of the topic. The title, I might change the title. But basically, it's about human and internet interface. And does that interface, violate our privacy? Is it getting into our thoughts? Is it at the level of, let's say, Minority Report? I have an iPhone 14, and I realize now that it tracks my steps. So, probably some of you guys are getting this too. I mean, probably some of you guys out there that might be watching this, you have Apple Watches, you already have your heart rate and your health being monitored just by your phone. And now there is an interface between, sending information about you, your statistics that will go to your doctor. These things are already taking place. So I know I haven't really purposely set these things up, because I've always kind of felt like, no, you don't, I don't want you monitoring me. I don't want this to be monitoring me that much. This is just how I feel about it. But I do know that somehow I'm getting a report of like how many steps I take. And so like this summer, since I don't have a vehicle, like I take the bus and I take Uber or whatever to places that I need to go to, which is great. I also have a shuttle that's part of my my apartment that I rent out that takes me to campus. That's included with living here. So that's really helpful. So it's helpful because I don't have to worry about parking and all this kind of stuff. And like most of the schools, if you do take the bus and you have your student ID, you can ride the bus for free. And it's a really big plus in that sense. So I walk a lot, all right? And, this cell phone has been tracing my steps, and I think maybe I might be averaging like 4,000 steps a week or something like that. And then since I've been home more and not going to classes, just doing my tutoring job, which is like happening online, and I have to go to campus sometimes, but not as much as I was. I am getting reports that I'm not taking as many steps, and then it's telling me how many calories I'm burning and stuff like that. So I guess for weight maintenance, it might be really good. But what I'm going to show you here takes what I'm talking about to a larger level. And so I'm going to share a video that is from the end of the beginning. and I want to move it up. I'm going to cue it up to the place that I want to start at. Okay, so I kind of want to start with Klaus Schwab. Yeah, I know. Let's start with Klaus Schwab and listen to a little bit of this dialogue, and then go farther into this video. And I want to do commentary on it because I watched it this morning, and it really blew my mind in many ways.
Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains, and I can immediately feel, because you all will have implants, and we measure your brain waves, and I can immediately tell you how the people react, or I can feel how the people react to your answers.
Hopefully I'm sharing this correctly. Let's make sure my share is right. Okay, good. Let me, how do I get out of this chat? I really want to get out of, I know I'm okay, so I'm going to keep playing this and see if I can fool around with this for a second.
Is it imaginable?
I think that is imaginable. I think I think, you know, you can imagine that. You can imagine, well, you're going to be sort of transplanted into, you know, the internet, so to speak, to live forever in a digital realm. You know, you can imagine that, you know, you just in your biological incarnation are going to live to be some, you know, very long age.
I just would like to highlight what you said about the European Chips Act, because it's a very important step to create the physical brain for digitalization and to have it located to a certain extent in Europe.
And then we're going to do a little Q&A, questions from the audience, and that'll be a wrap, and you'll leave enlightened and excited. So first off, a video. It's going to make you see the future and understand a wonderful future where we can use brainwaves to fight crime, be more productive, and find love. Let's roll.
You're in the zone. Even you can't believe how productive you've been. Your memo is finished, your inbox is under control, and you're feeling sharper than you have in a decade. Sensing your joy, your playlist shifts to your favorite song, sending chills up your spine as the music begins to play. You glance at the program running in the background on your computer screen and notice a now familiar sight that appears whenever you're overloaded with pleasure. Your theta brainwave activity decreasing in the temporal regions of your brain. You mentally move the cursor to the left and scroll through your brain data over the past few hours. You can see your stress levels rising as the deadline to finish your memo approached, causing a peak in your beta brainwave activity right before an alert popped up telling you to take a brain break. But what's that unusual change in your brain activity when you're asleep? It started earlier in the month. You send a text message to your doctor with a mental swipe of your cursor. Could you take a quick look at my brain data? Anything to worry about? Your mind starts to wander to the new colleague on your team, whom you know you shouldn't be daydreaming about, given the policy against intra-office romance. But you can't help fantasizing just a little. But then you start to worry that your boss will notice your amorous feelings when she checks your brain activity and shift your attention back to the present. You breathe a sigh of relief when the email she sends you later that day congratulates you on your brain metrics from the past quarter, which have earned you another performance bonus. You head home jamming to the music with your work-issued brain-sensing earbuds still in. When you arrive at work the next day, a somber cloud has fallen over the office. Along with emails, text messages, and GPS location data, the government has subpoenaed employees' brainwave data from the past year. They have compelling evidence that one of your coworkers has committed massive wire fraud. Now they're looking for his co-conspirators. You discover they are looking for synchronized brain activity between your coworker and the people he has been working with. While you know you're innocent of any crime, you've been secretly working with him on a new startup venture. Shaking, you remove your earbuds.
What do you think? Is it a future you're ready for? You may be surprised to learn that it's a future that has already arrived. Everything in that video that you just saw is based on technology that is already here today. Artificial intelligence has enabled advances in decoding brain activity in ways that...
Okay, I'm gonna stop it for a moment right there. That really is, I don't know, I find it kind of disturbing that there's, that there's a detection of your brain waves, and that, I'm wondering if they're going to show a little bit more of it right here, but the fact that somebody, commits fraud in your company, and based on their brain waves, they can see that activity. And then there are people, that may have participated, and they're matching they're going to request all of their brain waves, because it's obviously not private, and to determine who, and when their brain waves match to who may have participated with them. And this is considered a better society, that if our privacy is no longer, that nobody can be transparent or hide from any of their actions, that we're going to have a safer world. There's a movie that I just watched, and it had Emma, the Emma Watson, she was a little girl from the Harry Potter movies. It's kind of an older movie, but it's kind of on that premise of there's this company, and everything that you do is seen. Oh, there's cameras everywhere, and everybody globally is transparent. So there's this almost like the movie makes it, puts the downside to it. But in the end, this is a spoiler alert, but everybody becomes transparent, including the people that created the software. So it's kind of a philosophy right now, and I really feel that this is getting very much like the Minority Report.
That we never before thought possible. You've heard a lot about AI over the past few years. Here at Davos, it's been the talk of the hour. But I want to talk about it in a different way, which is the ability to decode brainwave activity. After all, what you think, what you feel, it's all just data. Data that in large patterns can be decoded using artificial intelligence. Consider this: the average person thinks thousands of thoughts each day. As a thought takes form, like a math calculation, you're happy, you're tired, you're hungry, you're elated. Neurons are firing in your brain, emitting tiny electrical discharges. As a particular thought takes form, hundreds of thousands of neurons fire in characteristic patterns that can be decoded with EEG, or electroencephalography, and AI-powered devices. In fact, what you're seeing here is my brain activity while I'm wearing a simple device like the one on the right. We're not talking about implanted devices of the future. I'm talking about wearable devices that are like Fitbits for your brain.
The Internet of Bodies.
Okay, but who's going to want to wear that? I mean, go back to this for a second. Who's going to want to wear this on their head? It is in order to work at a certain place, are we going to be required to wear a device like that to be monitored this way? And, are we going to be coerced to doing these kind of things in order to be employed in the field that we actually studied or went to school or went to college to get a degree in? I mean, where is this really taking us? So I'm curious to see, hopefully you guys can say something in the chat. I'm curious to see what your thoughts on this are, or even if you watch this later, put a comment in the comment section below on this. And you know, the next step is that it's not going to be just on the outside of our body. It's not going to be a wearable Apple Watch. It's going to be a transplant and a chip. It's going to be something that's going to be like what Klaus Schwab was talking about.
What you're seeing here is my brain activity while I'm wearing a simple device like the one on the right. We're not talking about implanted devices of the future. I'm talking about wearable devices that are like Fitbits for your brain.
The Internet of Bodies, an ecosystem of internet-connected devices that can alter the capabilities of our bodies, collect personal, intimate data about us so we can learn more about and improve ourselves. We're currently living in an era that's defined by what people are calling the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things. Many devices are moving onto and into our bodies. There's a small but growing movement of people who are early adopters of radical technologies like self-implanted devices. I met a man named Aaron who had about 7 microchips implanted in various parts of his hands. These chips are about the size of a grain of rice and are implanted just under the surface of the skin with an enormous syringe. Aaron was able to unlock his smart front door with 1 microchip and scan another chip with his phone and pull up his personal website. Some of you might start Googling where you can get your microchip implanted, but others of you are probably a bit more cautious about the idea. Even though it's a proven safe technology, it's basically the same technology we use to chip our dogs and cats.
The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, right, just as an example, it's you who are changed. Yeah, and of course, this has a big impact on your identity.
Yeah. And offers certain kinds of possibilities that have to be careful about. You know, when you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worry that you are changing what it means to be human.
That's the problem. And of course, the new industrial revolution offers us many opportunities, but it raises manifold questions on the ethical, but even legal implications. And we have to be prepared for it. And that's what we want to do in Davos next year.
Talk about technology and how the ways it can be deployed, that contribute to growth rather than exacerbate unemployment. How will that implement itself?
It's a big question mark because there is a fear that technology, robots, just to take one
you get
element,
productivity from machines.
Exactly, and it replaces maybe the work.
Oh wait, you know what? I better change my banner here to fair use. So this is fair use. I am showing a clip from the end of the beginning here on YouTube. So this is a transformative work, and we are educating and critiquing and educating the public. Hi, Seren One. Garners would love it. Gamers would love it. Sorry, I got to put my glasses on. Yeah, definitely. And also, let's talk about the virtual reality, because the metaverse is, well, it hasn't been the big hit that I think it's supposed to be. But there is this move towards having us interact in virtual reality, even for, say, education. I know that for the tutoring job that I do for the college, that they got a grant to start using virtual reality as a part of a learning tool. So you can go into a space and I guess, I can hold a skeleton and go, hey, this is the orbital bar or whatever, and have this sort of communication. And even now, I mean, how many of us, and I've done this, I've been guilty of this. By the way, when I was on Facebook, it was like last year, I was actually invited to be part of an augmented reality test group where we made our own templates of different like when, you know what I'm talking about, like when you do like on Instagram, you have like, you can put a robot face interfaced over your face or whatever. And I played around with makeup, like having eyeliner and makeup and lipstick that you can just automatically use as an augmented reality. It almost reminds me of what's that Bruce Willis movie called? It was about synthetics, where everybody had another suit to go out in public in and live in the organic world. That was a little bit better looking than you. Like all the perfections were, all the imperfections were taken out, and they're just kind of lying in a bed, right? Not living their organic life. That I really think that maybe, like, how far off are we from these things that we see that are futuristic in movies?
Workforce or jobs faster, and we can replace them with new jobs. Not everybody can be a robot polisher and so on. So there will be new jobs.
I think the most important thing to know about living in the 21st century is that humans are now hackable animals. To hack a human being means to understand that human better than he or she understands themselves.
In the 20th century, wireless technology integrated with the human body was nothing more than science fiction. But today, Wi-Fi connected devices like heart rate monitors and sleep trackers have become common parts of American life. How has bionic technology evolved so quickly from science fiction to reality? And what could this Internet of Bodies mean for our lives moving forward? RAND researchers are studying this phenomenon and what consumers and policymakers need to know as we veer into uncharted territory.
The Internet of Bodies, or IOB, is actually an ecosystem. It's a bunch of devices that are connected to the internet that contain software and that either collect personal health data about you or can alter the body's function. We think of the Internet of Bodies as this collection of all these devices as well as all the data that the devices are gathering about you. And in healthcare, Internet of Bodies has been around for quite a while. With the advent of the internet, it makes a lot of sense to connect your pacemaker to the internet so that your doctor can be automatically notified if something weird happens, if there's an anomaly. It's natural in a lot of ways to want to understand more about your body, how it functions, how well it's doing.
IOB devices could revolutionize healthcare. Unprecedented amounts of personal health data could inform treatment plans that are completely tailored to a patient's needs.
There are pills now that have an electronic sensor that let a healthcare provider know whether you have taken the medication. Other things like precision medicine. So precision medicine is the idea of creating pharmaceuticals or treatment like specific.
I mean, that blows me away to think that there are medications that will alert your doctor that you've taken the medication. And think about that. What if these are psychotropic drugs that may or may not be working for you? But then if you're not taking it, your doctor's going to know that you didn't take it. So I don't know. That's just one thought that came to mind right now.
Specifically for your body, for your personalized treatment. And I think IOB could really help with that because nowadays a lot of healthcare is based more on, average reactions, whereas with data from IOB devices, you might be able to really more precisely treat a certain disease.
But the Internet of Bodies won't be a cure-all. In fact, the largely unregulated market poses risks to the uniquely sensitive data these devices collect.
First of all, there's the cyber risk of an actor potentially hacking into the system, whatever it might be. There's the privacy risk of all this data that's being collected, and the regulations about that data are really murky at the moment. And so there's not a lot of clarity into who owns the data, what happens to it, who it gets sold to, how it's being used. And there's even potentially national security and global security risks.
A few examples of these risks have already played out in real life. For instance, in 2018, highly sensitive information about U.S. military activity and base locations was inadvertently revealed by soldiers' fitness trackers. So this is a pivotal moment. What can we do to make sure we reap the potential benefits of the Internet of Bodies without risking our privacy, security, and personal autonomy?
Consumers should be wary of IOB devices because as it's becoming more and more popular, all of this intimate data is being collected, arguably more intimate data than we've ever really recorded before. There's no clarity on what is being done with that data. You know, with an old mechanical pacemaker, there's no data that was being collected and stored, and you could look at a history of someone's heart rhythms. Because policy tends to lag behind innovative technologies like this, it's probably up to the consumers and to the healthcare patients to really be aware of the devices that they're using and what is happening to their data, and to know what the regulations are in their particular state, because it does vary so much state by state. Even if you think you're not interesting or that nothing will happen with your data, there are a lot of unknowns that I think we need to be careful about.
And that's one of the reasons too you hear about all this talk about oneness and togetherness.
I'm gonna stop it right there because I just wanted to show you. I mean, obviously on his channel he's gonna do a different take. He's gonna give his own opinion about this, but I'm not interested. And I mean, you know, I'm using it for us to share our opinions on it. Surin says, "I know Gates wants to go beyond the Jetsons." Yeah. And you know, there is this so do the rest of the globalists. Yeah, because and again, you know, some of the discussion is like, well, they're looking for eternal life or longevity, like as if, you know, now, I mean, I'm quoting more conspiracy things right now, but you know, just think about the possibility of being able to download your memories or your history or whatever, your consciousness into, you know, store it in somewhere on the internet. You know, a lot of people think that makes you be you in a different, maybe in a different reality. But then you get, then here comes in the conversation of like your soul and your consciousness and what is consciousness and all this kind of stuff. So, but I think definitely, I mean, and what I'm saying right now is it is more of into the conspiracy world. Yeah, Chris Price says, highly disturbing, take the human out of humanity, no acknowledgement of soul, no. Hi, Terry, glowing in lavender. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is actually, my aunt gave me this shirt as a gift. It's Abbey Road, you know, so it's my Beatles shirt. So the famous, them walking across the intersection there. So I didn't realize that technology was going this fast. And so it's good to see where we're at. It also reminds me of that. I don't know if you guys probably seen this video where Elon Musk is talking about how technology could go out of control, and we don't know to what level this could be that could be detrimental to us. And also that, you know, the laws, like she said here, the laws tend to come up later. Like our privacy, like the thought of us being hacked this way. Like, what if somebody wanted to hack you, and then maybe because you were hooked up to something, like you have a pacemaker, could they mess with that? Could you be actually killed that way? Is what my thought went to. Hacking into your information through the internet or the human internet interface. I think is something that we need to start to be thinking about. Also, the ones about the chips, the different chips. Did I show that part? Because I was trying to troubleshoot my chat and I wasn't sure if I meant to, but there's like, the one guy who had, this chip can open my door and this chip can, access my internet here on this finger and whatever, just all of that being there. It's like, okay, so what's wrong with just like going to your computer and turning it on? Like, do I have to like do it with a chip? The thought of, like, let's say, and I've looked into this, like there are a lot of different periodicals and studies on how the human can be hacked in the sense, or maybe even mind controlled by electronics, and it's a true thing. I mean, it's a real study. So let's say you get the Neuralink, or you get something, you get a chip in your brain that is going to make your intelligence, like your brain is going to be able to be the search engine of the internet is in your head. So you're going to be able to access information a lot quicker, right? Making you competitive. Because like, what did Elon Musk say? He said something like, without doing this, that, the AI, we will be like a cat to them in terms of our ability to understand the things that AI understands. Now, that's assuming that I think that I'm thinking that AI has that kind of awareness to see themselves as an entity. But look, Sophia already has citizenship. So we've already authorized certain people to actually not people but robots to be considered to have the same rights as a human being does. So it's already kind of been set up that way. Yeah, it is terrifying. What's terrifying? Seren says, I find that terrifying if I download my consciousness into a chip. I find it terrifying too, because not just your consciousness, also your consciousness being in a chip, right? Is it you still? I mean, that's the question. Like, because I believe we have a soul. I believe that we have a consciousness that isn't part of like our body. This is just the way I think, that there is a soul that is observing your experience right now. So this is just kind of like our own biological computer. This is like kind of like a meat suit, right? That we're existing in. But to think that you can have your consciousness download into a computer, or into the internet or whatever, is that really you? Is it just AI mimicking the thought process of what you would have been? And so it really wouldn't, like, let's say, I'm gonna go, like, do you guys watch Black Mirror on Netflix? Because I do. I'm kind of into this stuff, right? I like science fiction. But when you think about like where science fiction is going to, like what part of this is real, like a lot of the things that were in this video, it did remind me of Minority Report. It's like it's almost like, when you're going in and you're wearing a device while you're at work that's getting your brain waves as to whether you're stressed, what you're thinking about, what you might be distracted off of your work. It's like continuous monitor, like you're almost like a slave being monitored at your desk, so that your employer can go, well, at 2:15 p.m. or at 3:19 p.m. you tuned into Not My Rabbit Hole at your desk, and you were not watching, you were not doing this, you were not working on this report or whatever. I think that so it's almost like you're a slave to something. I don't know, just the thought, right, that I have given permission to have my thoughts monitored and then analyzed, and then maybe it would have to be like subpoenaed or whatever if, let's say, there was a crime committed at my office, to test the brain waves of the people in the office to see if they matched with the person that committed the crime is really kind of disturbing, because let's theoretically think this too. I'm just thinking out loud. What if you were watching a video, you know, when you weren't supposed to, about like somebody committing a crime that actually really happened in your office, and then you actually had the brainwaves that matched that, but you really didn't commit the crime? Then through those brainwaves, you would be considered to be a suspect. And when we're talking about like how the internet is collecting data on our physical bodies, and with the Apple Watch, oh, this is great. You know, oh, you got diabetes. Okay, this is great. Let's do this. Let's track you and see. You know, we're going to be able to monitor your disease more efficiently, and we'll be able to respond a lot quicker with the doctor, and it could be very life-saving. Or we're going to monitor you so that you have we'll know if you ate too many chips and your salt intake went over what it was supposed to have. And then think about this: will there be violations? You know, like let's say, like in a science fiction movie, you're completely monitored, right? Your salt intake, you know, how much you ate, how much whatever. And if you do not take care of yourself physically and you violate those things, then you'll be penalized in some ways because you are not taking care of yourself to be completely contribute to the whole of society. I'm just thinking of all these different possibilities that could happen. And then when you think about the fact that somebody could be arrested based on brain patterns being similar to somebody that committed a crime in your office, then to me that feels a little bit like Minority Report. Is it going to be where, you know, if you think something, you think, like, let's say somebody has, a fleeting thought, they're really angry at their spouse, and just for a moment you have in your mind, you imagine yourself, you know, doing something to them, right? Like I almost don't even want to say on YouTube, because YouTube, you know, is going to say, oh, you said this, you know, we're gonna hi Orange, welcome. You know, YouTube's is going to go, well, we're gonna say that we're going to arrest you based on the fact that you thought of doing this particular crime. Doesn't necessarily mean that a thought doesn't mean that you're going to carry it out. So is it, I mean, to me, this is like what we're looking at in this presentation is kind of leading, I think, towards that possibility. So, yeah, it is disturbing. Again, Chris, I mean, I'm just adding this here. It's to me, it's highly disturbing, and it's ethical questions that we should start to think about as a society. But I really don't think that at this point, I don't see any activists out there or people really taking action on this. I just don't think this conversation is out there enough, and it's like here now, and it's going to be our tomorrow, probably a lot quicker than we think it is. Hi, Chris. Again, Chris says, it's terrifying, it's voluntary now, but the potential for abuse seems pretty obvious. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. All right, so I wanted to share that with you today, because I'm not going to, again, this is not like a real long show. This is like a really quick, you know, hello, hi, whatever. Again, I want to say I'm taking a poll of whether or not people believe adrenochrome is real or not. It's on my community page here at Not My Rabbit Hole. So I'm asking people to engage in that poll. I'm wanting to do a show on Rumble, not here, but on having a conversation on adrenochrome, and also the movie The Sound of Freedom that's come out, but mostly about the topic of adrenochrome, because I think that's where you know, people get stuck on the validity of that and what conspiracy that got caught up in, right? But there's a lot of arguments in the conversation. The thing about my channel on Not My Rabbit Hole, and I was just thinking about my mission statement right now, is that I'm not here to push one particular narrative and say this is absolutely the truth. I mean, even though like I'm tutoring biology, anthropology, like it's still a theory. And with new information, that's how science is. With new information, the theory might change. The scientific method, you have a hypothesis, and then which is basically a hypothesis and a scientific theory are the same in the sense that they're both testable explanations. But the hypothesis is just, I think this might happen. And then through rigorous testing, you find out whether or not that's true. And then if it is true, or you have enough evidence to support that as being fact, then that becomes a scientific theory. So, like, whenever I'm having these, like, any type of discussion, really are not my rabbit hole about anything. I'm mostly, I mean, it's not like, I think that I'm actually like, this channel is like, it's a skeptic, it's a believer who's skeptic, it's like, I think that extraterrestrial life exists. I think that, that especially now, I'm going to show you the next video coming up, that there's quite a possibility that, there's an extraterrestrial technology and that extraterrestrials actually really exist. Now, there's some people that think it's interdimensional, and that some people think that extraterrestrials are actually demons and they're not, coming from another planet. One of the things that I noticed that David Grush said, the whistleblower, is he said that they said, well, is it coming from another planet? He says it might be coming from a reality that's right next to this reality. Or, like, when Stephen Cambion and I were analyzing, the Carrie Cassidy, speech that she did at the Truth Tour, there's a section where she said, everything, there's other alternate realities of us happening on different places. That's not a new theory. That's basically string theory. That in another alternate reality next to this one, I'm doing something else, or you're doing something else, or we're having a different type of experience. Like that's how you get to like the possibility of the Mandela effect. I'm one of those people that thought he died back in the 80s. I am. I could swear I remember him dying, but then all of a sudden I was like, he's alive again, and I didn't even realize that was like considered the Mandela effect. But what is that? Is that a collective memory that people got it wrong? Or is that actually the possibility that maybe we've gone into, like, in our own lifetime, we bumped into a different reality while we were actually existing, and maybe we existed in the one before? I wonder about that. Like the movie that won the Academy Award, right? Everywhere happening all at once. I might not said the title right. I haven't seen it yet, but it's really interesting to me. But that's based on the string theory. But again, it's a theory. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a reality. But then when you hear David Grush saying, oh, well, this might be coming from like, and he said that there was like an equation, a mathematical equation, a physics equation that proves the theory of that being a possibility. I find that fascinating as well. Anyway, so I want to share with you, like, I'm kind of following like whatever new information is coming out surrounding disclosure of aliens, and I want to share, I just had it right there, and then there was like one thing that came out and it goes, men can't ministrate. I'm like, okay, that's not the one that I want to bring up. Okay, but this is Fox News, and I want to just show you what Fox News is saying about extraterrestrials. And this is a congressman that he has on his show.
Who sits on the House Oversight Committee. Tim Burchett joins me now. So, Tim, do you know that the government has this crazy alien stuff and is keeping it from us?
I don't know about that Vegas deal, but the whistleblower, I know him. He's a decorated veteran. I know in Washington D.C. that doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot, but in East Tennessee that means a whole lot. Those are the Tic Tac videos you're seeing there right now. Those are videos that were taken by American military. That's their gunners, their gunner photography, and they're actually trying to follow those things, and those are some of the best pilots in the world. So either they're lying or somebody else is lying. And so I tend to go with our military men and women. I've been briefed on things, some things I can speak about and some things I can't, but that's probably a meteorite that you're seeing in Las Vegas. But,
so what kind of things can you talk about? You said you can't talk about stuff.
Well, I can talk. Yeah, I can talk about this. Some of these craft that you're watching right there, they have no heat trail. They defy every bit of physics that we know about. They they can fly underwater or swim underwater, I guess, and they basically have no friction, and there is no heat trail, so you don't know. We don't have any idea what's propelling them, and everybody says at first, well, that's the Russians, and you know good and well that Putin had a UFO. He'd land the thing on the White House lawn, probably get out, ride a unicorn bare-chested over to the president and punch him in the mouth, and then ride back to Mother Russia. If the Chinese had it, they'd own us.
Okay, so he's Tim Burchett from Republican Tennessee House Oversight Committee. And is it me, or does it seem like most of the people that are coming out talking about UFO disclosure tend to lean towards the right or support this information because this is Fox News too as well?
I mean, in all seriousness. So you're left with one other conclusion. These things are coming from somewhere else. And this has been covered up since 1947 or sooner. And we have military personnel that are decorated veterans telling us they've seen these things. And, we just need to get to the bottom of it. I've added an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act to declassify all things about UFOs and UAPs, because if they don't exist, then why are they hiding them? And if they do exist, why don't we know about it?
Tell me a little bit about how you know that the UFOs fly underwater.
Well, you just saw a video that just showed that right there. There was one that just trailed, and you can listen to the pilots it's called the Tic Tac videos, like the candy, and you can Google it, and it's been on 60 Minutes, and they literally go underwater and they fly out at the same speed, and these have been documented. And the trouble you've got is these pilots are afraid to come forward, even with whistleblower protection, because what happens, and I've talked to these pilots, they've been interrogated for over 8 hours, some of them, and then they're told not to say anything, and of course it ends up on their record. So I've actually spoken with pilots who said, look, I've destroyed this evidence because I don't want to have to come back and explain it to my superiors and then be subjected to ridicule. And yet it happens time and time again. And I've been told by some higher ups, Burchett, we got more important things to deal with than this. And I said, well, what's more important than American fighting men and women in $50 million aircraft? We've had 13 certified close, I won't say close encounters because that's the movie, but they've had almost near collisions in the air. And this is public record. And yet when we have a hearing, the Pentagon puts a couple of people in charge of it. Honestly, they couldn't spell UFO. They couldn't stop a 12-second video. Isabel Burchett, my little girl, could have stopped the video. And Adam Schiff, of all the people, I know somebody's head's going to explode on Fox when I mention his name in a positive light, but he said he asked the best question. He said, what exactly am I looking at? Because the video they had was taken with a guy's cell phone inside of a plane canopy. And then they couldn't even stop a 12-second video, the most technologically advanced country in the world. We had the pilot, who was one of the pilots in the Tic Tac videos that had followed these UFOs through the air. He was not allowed to testify before our own intelligence committee.
Look
it was
what
open to
this
the
says down
public.
at the bottom. RPT government had UFO evidence since 1890. At first, I looked and I went, oh, okay, 1980, yeah, of course, but 1890. That is, I had no idea it's been that long.
It was the only one I've ever been able to go to as a sitting member of Congress, because obviously I'm not on the Intelligence Committee, but the only way he got in, he had press credentials, and they wouldn't even let that guy testify. So you tell me, what the heck is going on? Why are they covering this up? I think the world needs to know.
I do too.
Let's get to the bottom of it. Quit hiding it. Quit hiding it. And the worst thing about it is the Pentagon's going to come to us and say, And that's what they're doing now. Watch. They're going to say, oh, we need to study this. Send us a few $1 billion. Well, hell no, they don't need to study it. All they need to do is turn loose the files, turn loose the unredacted files they have.
Turn them loose. And maybe we have another suspect for the cocaine at the White House.
Maybe. I don't know. I can say is Tim Burchett did not leave that cocaine at the White House. I can tell you that.
Neither did Jesse Waters. Congressman, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought that was
Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
That's a funny button on that conversation. But Putin says hi. Yeah. Putin says hi from his UFO. Yeah. Well, I mean, Russia's different than Germany, right? But there's the whole thing about that. Some of the aircraft that we thought we saw was actually German aircraft that was created, and not UFOs. And then there's also, the balloon theory and all this kind of stuff that has sort of been almost like academically accepted. Which I'm not saying academia is always right. Far from it in some ways. I shouldn't say that now that I'm actually in college and whatever. But again, it's funny. I had a conversation. Okay, I want to read what you said, Cern, first. The government has weapons that can fry people, and they've had that tech since at least Vietnam. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, alien DNA and the human race. And I mean, again, I find it fascinating that this is all happening right now. I'm like, woo! All this time we've been talking about UFOs, and it seems like it's a very hot topic. It's interesting to observe, and it's also interesting to observe people's reactions to it, because there's been a lot of mythology. When I say mythology, there's been, in the UFO community, there has been recognized theories that are, considered to be standard or true, almost like folklore might be the wrong word, but it's become and for some reason, their religion, really. Their spirituality for some people is caught up in the existence of UFOs and the different types of UFOs that are out there. And, you get into, Palladian, for example, people thinking that that they are Palladian. Again, you have Barbara Marciniak, who channeled the Palladians. There is a visual, we have an idea of what we think a Palladian looks like, which is very Nordic, by the way, or the tall white alien. And I've always, one question I have, and I've been having, is okay, how come there's no Mexican alien people, or there's not, and we never hear of a black alien, and and I'm thinking, well, maybe could it be that the people that are coming up with these stories are this? I compared it to the fact that we took Jesus and made him look white too. That there's always, that we've taken these iconic people and, or not iconic, but Jesus and religious beliefs, and go, okay, well, those people are also white as well. And I'm just questioning that, the problem right now in the UFO world is, we have testimony of people being abducted. We have testimony of people saying that, they're Arcturus Ra or whatever, right? And here's my med bed. But we don't have the actual extraterrestrial coming out and saying, hey, I'm here, and I'm blank, 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 and this is what's really going on. We don't have the smoking gun yet. And within that, there's been all these cults, and let's just call some of them cults. Let's talk about Heaven's Gate. By the way, I just started the first episode of a docuseries on HBO Max on Heaven's Gate, and it's really interesting. And just to kind of briefly go in, hey Jeff, greetings from Las Vegas. Did you see any aliens yet? Did you see the aliens yet? Thank you, Chris. I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that and saying thank you. And again, if you guys do like this video, like it, give it a like, or share it if you want to share it on your media or whatever. It's all really appreciated. So in the Heaven's Gate thing, one of the things that they were saying, it happened in Oregon first, and there were all these flyers that said that if you want to, be taken away, like meet UFOs and be taken away in a spacecraft, to Heaven's Gate, like to the gate of heaven, basically, right? That you were going to go to another planet that is more evolved than what the humans were, then you were to stop caring or being associated with the human experience. Once you have stopped needing, addictions or drugs or playing games or having to have a job or, a title or something that I guess is involved with the ego, then you would automatically be ready to be taken up to the spaceship and go to this other place, which is another dimension or reality beyond this one. And it's really, it's interesting. And it's interesting how they named themselves. Like the guy's name is Do and the woman was T. And it came from The Sound of Music. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And it brings us back to Do, right? I was like, come on. Okay. When I found that out, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Okay. So, and then Bo and Peep, and then Do and T, and it's just, okay. Anyway, but the psychology of the people that got involved with, because it ended up being the 39 that ended up, taking the cyanide and saying sayonara. But there was, at one point, there were a lot of people that were like followers of this over like a 10-year period. And, like Walter Cronkite was coming out and talking about it before the mass SUICIDE took place. Whew. Okay. Drove by area number 1, a horrible drive, hot as hell, not going home that way. Oh, Area 51. Yeah. Yeah, it's hot right now. Stay cool, everybody. That's important. All right, so I'm probably gonna leave this conversation today. Thank you for being here, Jeff. But I guess I've been going on for like an hour and 12 minutes or so. Again, this was like just a kind of a real quick, I thought about these couple of things. I thought about the AI and, the monitoring of our body and the different devices and the human interface with that and the ethical reasons. Oh, one more thing I think I should probably bring up too is it also makes me think of our DNA. Because, we've all done, the 23andMe and all the different DNA testing. I'm sure that's like really fun to do. I might even do it, but then your DNA is collected in a database. And I think that people at one point, I'm thinking, I don't know, I haven't done it. I'm assuming that in the contract, you're giving permission for them to use your DNA for other purposes. If not, then that in itself is really kind of a violation. But they found the Golden Gate State killer was found by the DNA. They found it through 23andMe. And the Brian Kohberger case that's coming up right now, his defense, that's how they found him, was through some DNA that was found on something, as well as some other people's DNA that they haven't really determined. It didn't go through the regular database of looking for criminals. So they took a step further and they went to the 23andMe to find him. And now they're asking, his defense is saying, well, we want to see the records, and the the prosecutors say, no, we don't have to we don't have to show that to you. And they're like, well, yeah, we think you do. We think that's relevant. So even within our physical, biology, there are privacy issues around that. And then thinking about the fact that we now have technology that can that can monitor what's going on with our bodies, be in communication with our doctors, and give the consumer with their Apple Watch. We know how many calories this and that. That might we burned or whatever. Our heart rate, how we're sleeping, may all be fine and good, but it's still data being collected about us. And where is our privacy around that? And and this too might bring it all full circle. Like, let's say the premise behind Cicada 3301 is that we believe that privacy matters. So there's I'm just pushing that little button as well in terms of like what part of ourselves is private, and is our own thoughts are not going to become private anymore. Because the one thing that I like to think that I'm in control of is that I'm in control of what I think or what my thoughts are. That my own consciousness and my own perception, and I'm just saying, like, I feel like I'm speaking for not just for myself, but for other people, right? Or the human experience. At least I hope I am. The one thing that we are able to control is our thoughts and how we react to our environment. And pretty much that's really all we can control. And I would think that if our thoughts are now able to be monitored by devices, or that we can be hacked from the outside because there's vulnerability to that, then if we're hacked, does that mean that somebody could be controlling our thoughts? If we were hooked up, would our thoughts all of a sudden not be our own anymore? And could they more easily do destruction to your organs if you're hooked up and there's an access to them, and maybe even terminate your life? Those are the kind of thoughts that I'm going, whoa, we better get ahead on the curve here, and at least as people decide whether or not we want to even be wearing an Apple Watch right now. And I know probably I'm not a spokesperson for this type of technology, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of leery about it. Oh yeah, I'm still here. But I'm about to say goodbye, though. I'm about to say goodbye. So, all right, well, I will be back again. Also, I want to put it out there that in this adrenochrome discussion that I want to have on Rumble, I'm looking for people that might want to join in on that conversation. For example, a panel. And I'm looking for people that, don't believe that adrenochrome is real. And I'm also looking for people that believe that it is real. And so that we can have an open discussion and bring out evidence of why or why not we think that is true or not true. Again, I want to say, hey, look at my community page. I have a poll going. Do you think adrenochrome is real or not? And, please do take the time to make a vote on that, because I'm collecting on your overall thoughts of what you think is real and not real. Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, come back and watch, because I'm about to finish up the stream here. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share Epidemic Sound. Earlier today, I played the song Flex Complex by LF1, and I'm gonna end with Save My Soul by Fashion.
Save my soul. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. I'm gonna save my soul. Save my soul, oh child, save my soul, pop, save my soul, pop, save my soul, pop, save my soul, oh child, save my soul, pop, save my soul, pop, save my soul, pop, save my soul, oh child, save my soul, pop, save my soul, save my soul, pop, save my soul, pop, save my soul, pop, save my soul. When up downtown, went up downtown, went up downtown. I was walking out one evening, moon was rising high.